Good morning once again and happy Sabbath. Today's lesson, the title is Words to Remember. And this lesson is a little bit more of a sovereign or a little bit, is a little bit sad because it's a farewell story from Moses to the people that he led for more than 40 years in the desert. He was shown that he would not go into the promised land after all the work that he did for the Lord. But he was also shown that Joshua, who was a man of faith and obedience, was going to be the one who was lead the people of Israel into the promised land. And when the lesson says words to remember, if you want to read the whole story, all the words that are there, and I can tell you that words that to me are the most, it summarizes all this is that he told them to remember. Remember how God has led us through the desert from Egypt, and he will lead you still to the promised land. Don't forget his love, his care, the provisions that God made for the clouds that were protecting them, the food, the water, the forgiveness they experience. And he talks, this lesson talks a lot about the 10 Commandments. And one of the things that grabbed my attention, and because all this is found in Deuteronomy, is that how you say it? Chapter 4 up to chapter 6, and then chapter 28. So 4, 5, 6, that's 3 chapters, and then chapter 28, which is 4 chapters to read in Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 4, 6, and then 28. And in there you will see how he reminds the people that they were not to follow the things, the culture that they came out of. And they were to enter the promised land, and in there they were supposed to go back to the teachings of the old time. They were not to have any idols, any type of figurine that they could pray to. Why? Because the 10 Commandments says that we only worship whom? God. We don't worship crosses hanging on our necks, virgins standing in our table. We don't worship anyone else. We don't worship the Pope. We don't worship our president. We don't worship our parents. We only worship God. And so Moses was reminding them, because he knew he wasn't going to go with them. It's like when you take your kids to college. Oh, it's horrible. You're like, I hope you remember everything I taught you when you were growing up, because now you're on your own. And that's what was happening to Moses. These were like his children, grown-up children, that he knew they had gone back to all these bad habits they had learned from the pagan society that they had been into. And now God wanted them to go back. And he tells also in a verse, where's the verse that I saw? One of the verses in chapter 9 said that we need to teach our children and our children's children, so they'll never forget the teachings that God had given them, and every single commandment. You don't choose and pick which one you want. The 10 Commandments were written by God, and he tells them, you never saw God. You heard his voice. You felt his presence. Remember that. but don't try to see God in statues or in any figurine. So this lesson was not only for the Israelites, it was also for us. Anyone who loves God and calls himself a Christian needs to try and to remember how the Christian people separated themselves, not to be like the worldly people, not to just be one more person. Hopefully, because you're obedient to the rules around you, because you're obedient to your parents, because with your love, you can bring other people to get to know the love of God. That is what we're trying to share with other people. God loved this world so much that he gave his only son, so that when he died, we had all the same chance for eternal life. So today's memory verse, it's found in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 13. And it says, "Love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart." And just to end this lesson, because I really hope that you go to read the chapters 4 through 6 and then 28 at home, so that you can see these with a little bit more of there's so much in there. I cannot give it to you in 10 minutes. So if you can read this with your parents, have your parents read this with you, or you go ahead and read them. You're old enough to read this message, these words that we need to remember, so that we are faithful until the day we die, or until the day Jesus comes back to take his children. And so right now, I would like to sing with you once again another little song that I think most people know, but if you don't, you can sing with me when Andres puts the lyrics in there. And it's very simple. It says, "I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back." Have a wonderful Sabbath. Goodbye.